Presentation on Phil Vischer, who is a pioneer in 3D animation, and I hope you enjoy. Now, who is Phil Vischer and what did he do? Well, Phil Vischer is the creator of VeggieTales. VeggieTales was created in 1993, and it was only created with a small team of 5 people and funding from a small local church. Phil Vischer was the leader of this team. He also voices Bob the Tomato, and due to his determination to make quality content that preaches the gospel, he was able to make his animation dream of talking vegetables that share the gospel into a culture icon. Now, uh, speaking of VeggieTales, let's talk about the art style, which is so relevant, like so iconic and recognizable because it is literally just vegetable shapes and the eyes and mouth. The 3D characters, right, are simply structured, and that's because since VeggieTales was made in the early days of CGI animation, it was quite a challenge to create characters basically out of nothing. Phil Vischer got the idea of the art style at uh, like an animation convention. Well, it was probably like a technology convention back in 1989 when he watched a company called Rhythm and Hues present their animation, which was CGI salt and pepper shakers on a yellow countertop, which is where Phil got the idea for Bob and Larry's countertop. And he noticed how the salt and pepper shakers were using squash and stretch, which gave them a lot of character and like a lot of like movement. And he got the idea of going, hey, why don't I use that to make characters? So he started out with a little orange ball character, and then he said, huh, that kind of looks like, a vegetable. So he moved on to start doing, well, actually, sorry, scratch that. He did use like a tennis ball character, but that's not where he got the idea for vegetables. He was going to make a character that was completely made out of candy, but his wife warned against him, saying parents won't like the idea that you're encouraging kids to eat candy. So he switched over to vegetables. Anyhow, the art style is so recognizable and so powerful because it literally uses simple shapes to tell a story through these simply designed characters. Like these 3 scallions are just so scallions. And even then, the art style just evolved and changed over time, becoming more and more detailed. Like this is only in 1993, and I mean, just look at that. Like that's really well done for its time. And then this is a year later, which they started modeling trees and having more differently shaped characters besides just like cylinders. Uh, there's Pa, Ma, Tom, and Rosie, and then Junior, and like they were able to like model cars and stumps and all that detailing on the inside, and that's just like a year later. 4 years later, they were able to do stuff like this with objects and well perspective and detailing and lighting. This is Madame Blueberry, where Madame Blueberry is too greedy and doesn't really isn't really content with everything she has. So this is Stuff Mart. And I mean, just like there's detailing on Larry, there's lighting on Bob, and the hats and clothing, which they never, well, they had hats and they had like clothing, but not to like that much of an extreme. And then they switched over to about in 1999. Larry Boy and the Rumor Weed is one of the highest quality productions that they ever made. Oh, I'll get into it later, but there's like fabric, cloth, rubber. You see, especially on Larry, you got like rubber tendencies, the green vines of the motherweed, and like the shapely language of the riverweed, which is incredibly like, because they went from like basic shapes and all of this to like having stuff like that, which is insane to me in the span of like what 5 years. Incredible. Don't mean to get off topic. All right, back to topic. So, I mean, the art style is just completely recognizable. They always have like shape language. Uh, they don't even need arms for the character. They just use the eyes and mouth to express, which is brilliant because when they first started, there was just nothing. They literally had nothing to go off of because animation CGI was so fresh and new into the world of film. So, yeah, why is Phil Vischer's work so impactful? Not only because it has a cultural impact, not only on Christians, but on the world as a whole, because you see VeggieTales, a lot of people know of it, and Christians, they love it because it's been like the basis of film for them. I mean, like, back when VeggieTales was so big, it was not only going to like parents who had like little small ones or in churches that wanted to give their kids something to watch, but this was like watched by Christian college kids, which is insane. And like I said, it was a pioneer of artwork for its time because they literally took simple shapes and they turned it into characters that could move and express themselves. And not only that, but they used a squash and stretch, which is kind of insane for CGI at the time. And I was wrong about this, Professor. It's not the first animated franchise. It was the first major computer animated franchise for kids, which is incredibly impressive. And not only that, but it set a standard for other animated shows later on down the line. And now, I mean, like I said before, they just started out with basically little to nothing because CGI animation was so new that they had to get creative real fast, and they got so creative. I mean, like I said earlier, they literally just took basic shapes and turned them into iconic characters that we all know and love today. So how do I want to be influenced by this? I want to be influenced by Phil Vischer's work by being able to do the same amount of creativity and I guess like brain power, not brain power, what's the word? Just creativity. I want to be influenced and have the same amount of creativity and problem solving skills to see, okay, I have this and I only have this amount of time. How can I make something good and great even though I don't have much to work with? I also want to be able to just be influenced by this by realizing that even if I'm not, if even if I don't have all the supplies I need or like all the supplies that I would like to have, I could still make great things. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy. Thank you.